Tyrese Haliburton is playing the best basketball of anyone in the NBA right now. He had his first triple-double of his career in his first national TNT appearance the other night. He's leading a team to the greatest offense the NBA has ever seen, and he's thrown 31 straight assists without a turnover. And he just told Damian Lillard, of all people, that he knows what time it is. Lest you think you misheard me in the intro, the Pacers currently have the highest offensive rating in the history of the NBA, almost 5 points higher than the previous record from last year. And the primary reason for this is Tyrese Haliburton. Against the Celtics, he introduced himself to anyone left who wasn't aware of how special he is by notching a triple-double and making clutch play after clutch play to will his team to a key victory that propelled them to the in-season tournament semifinals. And last night, he was somehow even better. First off, I almost felt bad for Brook Lopez, since the bulk of Haliburton's production came with him out there trying to defend. Notice how Haliburton rejects the screen before taking Lopez all the way over to the left wing to isolate on the slow-footed center. Haliburton loves to reject the ball screen because most teams like to chase him around into drop coverage, or the defender will try to jump over the screen early, leaving an opening to go the other way, and he's got almost unlimited range off the dribble. The team defense focuses so much in the direction of the screen that a simple skip dribble opens up the other side of the floor into his vaunted floater game that leaves big men flailing at air. And you can tell how afraid the rest of the defense is of his passing as they leave Lopez alone on an island with little help of keeping in front of the tricky finisher. He does it again in the third as Buddy flares in between, almost creating a screen by Dame on his own teammate. And now there's no way to prevent him from getting within 10 feet of the hoop, but the skill it takes to float this one in off the glass is next level over an elite shot blocker. But the abuse of Lopez was far from finished. The Pacers vary the Hali attack by getting him off ball sometimes. This ghost screen by Buddy is just misdirection as they're looking to attack Lopez in the pick and roll with the attack on the catch to the right. Lopez does his best to drop and contain while also being aware of Turner rolling. But Haliburton is simply too good to afford him this much space to finger roll it high over the valiant block attempt. Nothing subtle here, just cold targeting Lopez, knowing he's going to drop down and allow a runway into the lane. He sucks Lopez in while Turner patiently waits in the open space for the pass he knows is coming. Middleton should be there quicker to contest, but the big man has been feasting all season long on the pick and pop. They put Lopez in the torture chamber again, and the defense is a difficult decision. You want to keep pressure on the guy who controls their offense, but if you don't switch this, you're letting Turner lick his thumb and check the wind before letting these fly. Turner's overall three-point percentage isn't great, but after setting a ball screen and fanning out behind the line, he's scorching at 57.1%, with all but one of these threes assisted by Haliburton. They turn to a favorite of mine, the Spain pick and roll, where Hield comes up to back screen Lopez, whose man Turner is ball screening out top for Haliburton. Lopez plays this pretty well, but is no match for the quick release lefty off-foot high arcing floater that is all part of the complete finishing package Haliburton has. There are so many options out of this, and if Giannis steps up to take away the Haliburton attack, Hield's man better be sinking down to take the roll man. Otherwise, you'll see Hali get up in the air for a better view before firing the pass in stride, so all Turner has to do is get up and over the rim with more evidence of Lopez's struggles to protect it. This action is a feature of their offense, and it's a great way to get Buddy open for threes. Watch how Hield's man decides to step up and take the ball handler. Well, the roll man is going to occupy the Pistons big, and that leaves no one to rotate on the nice skip pass for the good look on the left wing. Again, the defense gets confused on how they want to defend this. OG doesn't switch and stays with Haliburton. Flynn was guarding Buddy, but decides he's got to take the roll man, which means Scotty needed to attach himself to Hield. Flynn does a yeoman's job, but Buddy is too good for all of that. We haven't seen a team with as high a pace as the Pacers since the Washington Wizards back in 2021, and shame on the Bucks for not being better prepared for this. Twice on made baskets by the Bucks, the Pacers ran right by them, and watch how Haliburton quickly checks down court before receiving the pass, already prepared to find an opening. And when Lopez doesn't realize Giannis isn't back in position on his man, it's too late. The ball is on a laser, and Toppin gets the nice reverse. You can't make good reads across the floor like this unless your body is well rested, and it seems clear Tyrese Haliburton must be sleeping on a bare mattress that allows him the ability to make so many no-look passes to his teammates. Bare Mattress creates premium mattresses designed to upgrade your sleep, improve your lifestyle and overall quality of life. and they conveniently ship them right to your door for free. I filled out this Bear Sleep quiz filled with terrific questions about how I sleep, what position I like to sleep in, and how my body generally feels after I wake up. So you're going to get the perfect mattress. I got this baby right here, the Elite Hybrid King, cool to the touch with copper-infused memory foam that feels like I'm on a cloud. They're running a Black Friday sale where you can get 35% off your purchase for a limited time, plus $400 worth of sleep accessories for free with your mattress purchase during their Black Friday sale. It's rolled up in a box, so it's easy to get in your bedroom, then it magically expands within about 30 seconds. I've been sleeping on it for a week and I can't get over how quickly I fall asleep once I get in bed. And I've been tracking my sleep quality and it's as high as I've ever seen it. Best of all, they're Green Guard Gold certified, CertaPlus US certified, and EcoFlex fiberglass free, which means you can lie on them knowing you're completely safe. They do have a 120-night sleep trial, so you get more than 3 months to make sure you love it. Don't forget, you can get 35% off your Bear mattress plus $400 worth of sleep accessories for free with your mattress purchase during their Black Friday sale. If you missed the limited time offer, you can still get 30% off using my code. Offers subject to change. The Bucks had to have known transition is a Pacers specialty. One of my favorite things about Tyrese's game is that his eyes are always up, always looking to hit ahead to a teammate, and it's just good policy, since it'll earn him an assist more times than not. And nothing cancels out the opponent's momentum quicker than to immediately break back for a layup to demoralize them. The Bucks had taken back this game with a 21-5 run in the third, but the Pacers do it to them again, and watch this. At the moment Haliburton receives the ball, there are 4 Pacers in the backcourt and only 2 Bucks, meaning there are 3 Bucks back and only 1 Pacer in a threatening position. But Isaiah Jackson is tearing down the court. Giannis was too busy concerned about Toppin on the right side. Dame is calling for anyone else to stop this man, and the Pacers cut the lead to 4. Let's get back to the end of the first half, where the Pacers were in the middle of shooting out to a 12-point lead. Great job to stymie the initial attack and force a reset, but that just lets Haliburton find his old nemesis Brook Lopez in the pick and roll. Turner doesn't even need to create contact on his screen, and just look at this incredible awesomeness. He gets up in the air and is completely smothered by Lopez. Giannis has come over to mark Turner on the roll, and we don't need to remind you how long and imposing he is as a defender. So what does Haliburton do? He drifts down towards the floor, and the instant before his foot touches it, he underhands a skip pass that somehow clears both big men, doesn't fly into the stands, and lands right into Toppin's shooting pocket for another wide open 3. We need to take some time to appreciate this man, folks. Now, let's get to the shooting, because his form tends to be confounding to someone like me who studies this for a living. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but this matchup is simply not for Lopez. He cannot drop like this on a high ball screen and give a 44% shooter a wide open 3 like this. His form might not look conventional, and a big reason is that his rhythm would be almost considered suboptimal. He syncs the timing of his right foot plant to the ball getting to the set point. More conventional players will have the ball lower than this at the moment the foot plants, and that means he's got to generate power from a 2-motion shot, with a lot of airspace between his body and the ball. If you watch the right arm on release, it recoils to the left and then drifts back to the right. The left thumb influence is vital to combat that right arm motion and keep the ball straight. And all I can say is that he's locked in the calibration and can hit these at an elite rate. Now, with an arm movement like this, I would think his misses would also be wildly off. And there is some evidence of this, as the right amount of pressure from the defense can break the mechanics down enough to send these balls flying off target more often than other quote-unquote great shooters. That said, while I did see some of this, it wasn't nearly as much as I would have predicted, telling me that this guy has trained his nervous system to handle the external stimuli of the defense and maintain the optimal motion way more often than not. The Bucks even tried some zone, and I love how Toppin and Brown get inside the 2 guards and part the Red Sea for Haliburton to get right to the free throw line for a hanging jumper in, you guessed it, Brook Lopez's face. I think they're still in the zone, and Beasley has to pick Haliburton up 5 feet above the 3-point line. Watch the drop jab as Hallie switches the ball from left to right hand while then jab stepping to the left. This opens up a big no-no for the defense, middle penetration, and Lopez is again left to grasp at air as the ball clears his hand and swishes through for the 1-point lead. They're back at the Lopez pick and roll game, and Dame does an excellent job to get around the screen initially, but the Gallup hesitation fakes him towards the half-court line a half step, and now we've got Lopez needing to come over to stop that damn floater. That just opens up the easy pass to Turner, who throws it down over Lopez, and you can start to feel the inevitability of it all. In the fourth, they coax a miss out of Dame, who struggled inside the arc all night. And check the count. 5 Pacers are in the backcourt, while only 2 Bucks players are here. Lopez is trying to backpedal instead of turning and running, and he's just too slow, as Haliburton throws this gorgeous no-look lob from half court to the rim, and OB smashes it as a reverse. This might look like a replay from earlier, but it's not. Turner sets the high ball screen, Dame is left chasing, and Lopez stuck in the blender. Does he fully rotate to stop the damn floater? Can he split the difference to deal with the roll man? Is Dame going to switch? Will Giannis tag like he's supposed to? Well, none of that happens, and I'm starting to understand why the Bucks defense is ranked 22nd this year. With Indiana clinging to a 1-point lead, they target Lopez again, and there's no pressure on the ball, nobody near Turner, and Lopez is forced to foul where they make 2 free throws. If this was all the evidence we had, it's obvious to me why Haliburton needs to be in the MVP discussion. But let's factor in his clutch numbers. There are 48 players who have played at least 8 games of clutch time and have taken at least 1.5 field goal attempts during that time. Haliburton's 69.6% field goal percentage is second only to DeMar DeRozan, and he's third in three-point percentage at an absurd 72.7%. Against the Celtics, he announced his presence on the national stage by catching one of the best defensive players in the league off balance by hitting this huge triple to regain the lead late, and then broke the tie with a 4-point play when Brown got too physical with his contest that propelled them to the key victory. With a 3-point lead last night, it was Lopez again who tried to switch to stop their vaunted pick and roll, and because of Haliburton's range, he has to get his feet up on the 3-point line. But that just allows him to blow by with no other rim protection on the nice scoop layup. At this moment here, Giannis should have switched with Beasley so he could be a much bigger and better help defender. And to end the game early, Haliburton need only jab his right foot towards the elbow to get the lumbering Lopez turning his hips. And even though this shot doesn't look pretty, notice the head tilt on the release as his whole body is trying to generate power because of his set point. It swishes perfectly through the net and propels them to a matchup with the Lakers for the prize money. $500,000 to each player. This could easily give the Pacers the kind of jolt they needed to propel them into the upper echelons of the Eastern Conference. And for even more context, I had to bring in Kaitlyn, who runs the excellent Basketball She Wrote Patreon with incredible analysis of the Pacers all season long. So Kaitlyn, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and discussing a little bit what's going on with Tyrese Haliburton and the Indiana Pacers. Can we jump right into it? What's the biggest difference that you see from last year to this year that indicates such a nice jump in his production?
So many things, right? I mean, they've gone from being in the bottom 10 of half-court efficiency last year to being number 1 and one of the greatest offense of all time, and he's the number 1 engine for that. I think some of it's just him coming to a realization that when he first came over to the Pacers, just those first 26 games after a trade, he could be very deferential. He's a very pass first, and that's a big part of his game is that he's wired to be pass first, but now he's looking for his own offense a lot more often. And I think that something that probably goes a little bit underrated about his game and how he's able to do this that doesn't get talked about a lot is that he rejects screens a lot within the Pacers offense, and he's forcing a lot of emergency rotations, and that comes from him making the correct reads on those ball screens. That comes from him using subtle techniques to be able to reject the ball screens, and then also the Pacers offense and certain things that they do tactically that helps him to relieve that pressure.
Wow. Well, certainly that kind of insight is the kind of detail you don't normally get. I mean, I was going through some footage and I noticed the rejecting of screens. I don't know if anybody else would have besides you, so that's amazing. You probably watched more than any more footage of this team than anybody out there. High volume of threes. He's now getting to 44, 45%. What do you see is the key there to getting such an elite percentage from behind the arc?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a couple things there as well. Something that he does to attack switches, because he's not somebody who's really going to spin his tires a lot against a big that switches out, and the Pacers are not an isolation-heavy defense. So him expanding his range and being able to pull from 25, 30 feet, what he likes to do is hit the switch pocket, which is what people would have seen at the end of that game against Boston when Buddy Hield goes and sets the ghost screen. It's removing Al Horford. Jaylen Brown hasn't connected yet. He likes to shoot before while one defender's handing him off to the next. So that's a big part of it. And then also just his ability to pull up in either direction. His numbers right now on just pull-up threes are pretty close almost identical to the efficiency and volume that Steph Curry was hitting during his 2015-16 MVP season. So there's kind of been a book on Tyrese in the past that you really want to weak him and force him to his left because he is floater heavy. He doesn't finish as well when he drives to his left, but now he's just becoming so automatic to stop and pop in that direction that it's not as effective as a defensive weapon anymore.
Well, if it was just the one-dimensional aspect of his scoring, then I'd think, okay, there's something here and he can really be effective. But I think what ends up opening this up is that he's leading the league in assists per game. And I'm not even sure it's just the number, because I could pass to a guy coming off the screen real easy. He hits a three, I get an assist, and then, that goes to the rack up pretty quick. But what are you seeing out there that makes him different and special in terms of his passing and vision?
I always like to refer to him as a counterculture. I think he just does a lot of things that are counterintuitive to how defenses are geared to defend. So, like, one thing in particular is, like, a lot of times in the pick and roll, we're told that you're going to look at the first option being the screener and then glance outward because the defense sinks in to take that away first, and then you look through the progressions. He tends to look outward first to get passes in. So that, those are kind of the high level, what you're talking about, advantage creation assists. When you can pass somebody open at the rim, you're like godlike as a point guard, right? So he does that a lot. And then also, like, something that I love to bring up is that he leaves his feet a ton, but he's doing it because he has an idea in mind, not because he ran out of ideas in the air. So he creates passing windows that way. Obviously, his eye manipulation is a big part of his game. He jokes around when people ask him about it, and he'll say, well, it's for the vibes. Well, yeah, it is for the vibes. The crowd gets into it. His teammates like it, but it also just creates so much uncertainty for the defense when you don't know exactly what he's going to do.
That's fascinating because, in theory, right, the roll man, if he's going to be open, probably is open for an extra half second or a second, where the shake or the skip to the other player might not be. So that actually makes a lot of sense. And I wonder how many coaches actually focus on that in terms of the reading progression of a pick and roll. Now, I've been kind of touting that this could very well be an MVP performance from him. You mentioned his numbers are in line with Steph in his MVP year. Is that premature? What's going to have to happen for him to become seriously considered for that award?
I guess that all depends on your particular flavor of what constitutes an MVP, right? Is it most impactful? Is it the best player? Do you have to be on a winning team? If you have to be on a winning team, the Pacers are going to have to keep winning, which in my opinion means their defense is going to have to be a little bit more supportive and provide some degree of a safety net for how great this offense is. So if they can continue getting wins and getting high profile wins like they just did in that in-season tournament win over Boston, that will certainly help him. Yeah, I mean, his numbers last year, he became the first player in NBA history to hit over 40% of his threes and also average 20 and 10, and he's right there at those marks again. So that means he's going to become the second player in history to do this twice. So I think that the numbers reflect that pretty well right now. I think a lot of it just goes back to as a team and then he individually. If he could add a little bit more help for the Pacers on defense, that would be a big help.
I see some good energy. I see some playmaking there where he's trying to do some stuff. So anything specific defensively that you see that he could improve on?
Yeah, I mean, the Pacers don't really like to assign him to the point of attack. They kind of had to do that the other night against Boston just because of matchup-wise. It makes more sense to put him on Derek White than to have him trying to guard Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. They usually like to use him as low-usage wings. He's pretty good at putting and sticking his arms in passing lanes and making some reads away from the ball. But I think it continues to be, I do like that they're using him more in hedge and recover this year. I think that's been big because that makes him not get targeted quite as often. When he gets targeted on the block, he doesn't put up a lot of resistance, though he does try to front. He just doesn't necessarily have the strength to do it. So if he can continue to be and use a quick show where it's actually more show and not just quick, as in like maybe force a negative dribble or deter the ball a little bit more away from the basket, I think that'll continue to help him because there's an incentive for teams to do this, not only because he can be the weakest link on defense, but also to try to wear him down because he is such an important engine to their offense. So I think a lot of it just goes back to that, especially with this defensive scheme being so geared around them wanting to defend individual matchups and not involve extra defenders as much as possible.
For sure. Well, a really great breakdown. I think that there are some things they're going to deal with defensively to get up from the lower 20s, I think, right now, to make him a real contender. But Kaitlyn, you are above and beyond breaking this down for us. Thank you so much for coming on. And just tell everybody where they can find your terrific analysis.
Right. So my X handle is at C2_Cooper. If you go there, there's a link to my Patreon called Basketball She Wrote, a blog about the basketball played by the Indiana Pacers. And if you like this conversation, I think that you'll probably like some of the work that's over there. So I'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kaitlyn. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Kaitlyn?
I'm in.